Thank you very much, Mr. President, for coming to see us. Recently, there has been public discussion in the West of two serious potential escalations. The supply of Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine and the potential seizure of ships with Russian cargoes on the high seas, not just in ports and territorial waters. Could you give us your view of the dangers of this and perhaps say something about how Russia would respond? Thank you.
It's dangerous. As for the Tomahawks, it's a powerful arm. Perhaps not the most modernized, but it's powerful. Poses serious threat. This will not change in any way the balance of powers on the battlefield, the fundamental issues of the armed forces of Ukraine, no matter how many UAVs they get, and no matter how many lines they create with those UAVs. Without the personnel, there will be no one to lead those battles. They have to change the tactics. Just look at what they're showing on the TV screens about how our troops are moving. 2, 3 people, but they're moving. RAP is working, so they'll continue step by step to move forward. Yes, of course there has been damage, but the Russian air defense systems have adjusted, have started striking them down. Can Tomahawks inflict damage? Yes, but we will continue to strike them down. We will continue to perfect our systems. Will this pose damage to our relations? Where we see light at the end of the tunnel, of course. Of course. Using Tomahawks without direct involvement of the US officers is impossible. Which means a brand new stage of escalation, even in the relations between Russia and the US. As for the seizure of ships, that's not good. That's piracy. What do we do with pirates? They have to be destroyed. There is no other way to deal with them. But it doesn't mean that overnight a war will start in the world ocean, but the risk of clash and confrontation will arise. At the example of the French Republic, I believe that is what will happen, that is what's happening. This mudding of waters and this stirring up of the situation and this continuing of rising level of escalation is nothing but an attempt to distract the attention of their citizens from the growing issues inside those countries. And that is what they're attempting to do. They are awaiting a response from our side. It immediately changes the track of political attention. SOS, we're being attacked. Who is attacking us? Russia. Everyone should stand strong together in order to unite against this common enemy. That is their common goal. And the citizens of those countries should be aware that that is the goal. They want to lead them astray, trying to avert them away from protests, especially on the streets. But at the same time, to suppress their civic activity and to stay in power. But the citizens of these countries should understand that this is a high-risk game. They're being pushed on the path of escalation as well as large-scale armed conflicts. I wouldn't do it.
Mr. Putin, you are setting Europe as an example as actually using the external threats for the internal consolidation. But in the United States, quite recently, we saw some high-profile assassination that has been perceived as an internal conflict aimed to polarize the society? Do they need the external threat in order to address that problem? Well, you know, this is a disgusting thing, and moreover, it was done just in the open air, almost a live show, and it was totally disgusting and totally. I'd like to render my condolences to the family of Mr. Kirk and his next of kin, and certainly we sympathize with him. Moreover, he was defending those traditional values, and by the way, the ones that Michael Gloss came to defend with arms in his hands, and he sacrificed his life for that, and he sacrificed his life here in a fight for the traditional values. As a Russian soldier, and Kirk gave his life there in the United States, but fighting for the same values. What is the difference? There is almost no difference. And by the way, the proponents of Kirk in the United States should know that here in Russia we have Americans who are fighting and who are ready to sacrifice their lives for that. But sadly, this is a sign, what has happened, this is a sign of a deep rift in the society, of a chasm in the United States. And there is no need to escalate the situation from outside, because the political leadership of the country tries to set it straight in the domestic policy, and don't want to comment on that. This is not our business, but I think that the United States is going this way, although what you have said and what our colleague raised the question about the new high-precision long-range missiles. This is another way to distract the attention from the domestic problems. But at least what I see, still the United States leadership, the US administration actually is more inclined to pursue a different policy, focusing more on achieving national development goals the way they understand it. Thank you so much. Glenn Dissent.
President Putin, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. My question was about Finland and Sweden having joined NATO. It changes the geopolitical landscape of Europe, and I was wondering how Russia interprets this. That is, the high north, as well as the situation in the Baltic Sea, perhaps specifically on the pressure that Kaliningrad is coming under, and how Russia might respond to this. Thank you.